Alrighty. Hello, Satisfactory YouTube peoples. Sorry for my week away there, a little bit late on this video. But we're here now, and that's what matters. Am I right? I hope so. Okay, so it's been a pretty exciting couple of weeks as far as the factory goes. You guys might have heard me talking about our plans ahead. The final space elevator mission number 4, and completing that, making the 4 items. So, we did it. We're doing it. We're doing it right now. Making those 4 items. Check it out. Yes, sirree. The factory exists, and it's working, sort of. So we haven't actually begun the final mission yet. But we do have the parts crafting and arriving. So pretty much when Update 4 launched, I kind of goofed and accidentally sent the space elevator without providing the materials. So I had to go back into the calculator and reset my milestones so we could redo the space elevator missions. Funny enough, though, this means we have to do all 4 of them. So I did the first 2 easy. Now we're kind of stuck on the 3rd one. I think I should just about maybe have the parts for that now. I don't know. We'll check in on that. Maybe we'll get to launch the space elevator. We'll see. But yeah, this build actually turned out really cool. We went a little bit creative on it. Doing like much more vertical than we'd ever done before. We did all the walls, the fancy things, you know, really just tried to make this a proper fancy bit of a factory. I don't know, is this big enough? Would you guys call this a mega factory? I mean, surely we could call the whole game altogether as a mega factory. I mean, I hope so, right? But I guess this is just one part of it. But yeah, actually, I want to give you guys a show around. So let's see if we can approach the factory by air real quick. All right. So we're just going to launch from here. We're back in the main base now. And we are going to take a look at this factory from the air. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going airborne. All right, we'll just give a minute to get through the fog here. All right, there she is, boys and girls. The factory. So I'm basically just calling it, like, the 4 towers for now. Gotta kind of come up with a better name there, guys. So yeah, as I'm sure you've imagined already, this thing is making the 4 final components for that final space elevator mission. We have nuclear pasta, of course. The thermal propulsion rocket, which is actually the most valuable item in the game now. Magnetic field generator. And the assembly director system, which apparently has the recipe chain to the most points per minute. I've not done the math on that one, though. Anyways, I'm mostly focused on making the parts for the final space elevator mission. So we have 1 tower per corner. Each tower makes one of the parts. Generally speaking, the parts are made at the top floor and then sent down. It's one very long Mark I belt. Let's see, this one's on the outside. So the factories are fed from above and below Below, you may have already noticed, there are a bunch of train stations. It's one of them trains coming in now. A rubber train. Which is really cool. With update 4, rubber and some select other items actually stack in 200 instead of 100 now, effectively doubling the capacity of freight platforms and train stations. Which is pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking cool. It means your trains can transport a heck of a lot more resources in one go. So we're bringing in rubber, obviously. We got plastic there. We got a bit of coal here. We got some iron and copper. So only those 5 things. Pretty cool, right? Tried to really keep it as you know, minimal as possible, as silly as that sounds. We are training in resources that are already here. Like, I am built on top of probably several pure deposits of iron and copper, but we train them in anyways because, you know, trains are cool. So on the top floor, we've got our drones. We have, I think, 11 drones and 11 drone stations across all of these towers. The drones, they supply what the trains don't. So the trains are supplying the basic resources. The drones, on the other hand, they're bringing in much more end-of-the-line resources. You folks who have been following the factory and the YouTube series, and hey, maybe even the streams, you probably already know that we have huge scaling factories set up already for fused modular frames, turbo motors, motors and computers, electromagnetic control rods, supercomputers, and basically everything else in between. So we bring all that stuff here via the drones. So you can see these guys are bringing in cooling systems, fused frames, and turbo motors. Super awesome, very convenient. This would have been a real pain in the neck to do without the drones. Without the drones, the only real viable way of doing this would either be making all the parts here, which would just be insanity. That would be just the biggest factory ever. Literally make every single item in the game almost. Or we'd have to do some kind of a train that would bring all these separate materials in, you know, like one different material per car. So I really like the drone option for this kind of job. I think they are purpose-built for doing just exactly this. And so far, they're working a trick. Like, we actually have a ton of these N-tier items, and it doesn't look like we're running out of any of them. Huge plus with the drone, too. They do not take off again until they've emptied, so it actually makes them really efficient, sort of. I do have some drones that are, like, toting around, like, one modular frame at a time. There's such a terrible supply. Yeah, we ran into a major issue having this factory come online. Firstly, it was power. Our power usage went up humongously. And now we've run out of iron. Yeah, we don't have enough iron for like anything anymore. So we are iron starved in a lot of places. Gonna be working on that this coming week. Hopefully we'll get that all rectified. So yeah, we'll just give you guys a quick little look through these factories here. Made a cool little train line up here to, you know, get the trains here. You got to build train tracks. Just cut through some of the map. You can see a train coming on in there now. Maybe we'll take a quick ride on that before the end. So this here is where we're making the magnetic field generators. So each tower, as you can tell, has a slightly different shape and design. But depending on which corner they ended up in and which orientation they ended up in, they had slightly different spacing availabilities. So this tower that we're in now is actually the tallest of the towers, and has the smallest footprint of all the towers, even though a lot of our towers are stacked unevenly, you'll see. So this guy has very few machines per floor. In fact, most floors only are having, like, one set of machines, you know? Because that's all we can really fit. Now, I mean, if you really crammed, you could fit more in. You see this floor, it's got 2 assemblers. But also, this floor is mostly empty space. The thing is, you know, I could fit in more than 2 assemblers here. But trying to jam in like a whole 2 manufacturers or whatever, it makes it really tight, really tight. And I was trying to give myself just a little extra space in this build. So I actually went fully ahead and totally built this up to scale. You'll notice some of these machines are not hooked up, they're just kind of placeholders. I wanted to build this factory to full scale before we enclosed it and all the walls and whatnot, so I wouldn't have to worry about rebuilding it again. So we've only got just 1 machine at the top working. Each tower has 4 machines at the top that we could power. And I'm planning on overclocking everything too. So we built everything on the lower floors to provide for 4 machines at the end of the line. So we'll never be adding any more machines here, which is funny because look at this lonely little assembler. 1 assembler on a whole floor. But he's all we're going to need to do 4 manufacturers of magnetic field generators at 250%. So yeah, you get the basic idea. We did a lot of vertical belts, obviously. Vertical tower, vertical belts. So some of these belts are coming from all the way down at the train stations here. You can see how we organize this. So it's nice the way we have the belts. You almost don't even notice them that much standing on the ground. But then going up, you can see we've got this whole floating bus line. Courtesy of the hover pack, by the way, man. Could not have built this factory without the hover pack. Let me just say that. It was an essential piece of building this place. Building this place, start to finish, easily a good 50, maybe 100 hours. Absolutely. Really, really big ceilings, too. One of the major considerations for this design was actually the particle accelerators, which I'm sure, as you guys know, are required for nuclear pasta. We'll go check that building out next. So here's nuclear pasta, an example of a much more spacious tower, and a tower that houses a lot more machines per floor. So this is the copper powder, which is a true nightmare of a resource. Like, look at the copper usage. These guys use 300 copper per minute. So at a full overclock, I imagine this is going to be 750 copper ingots per minute per constructor. That means each constructor is going to be taking almost a full 780. Absolutely, like, crazy, crazy recipe. Really cool, though. And here we are. The nuclear pasta particle accelerator. So the only thing we're using particle accelerators for outside of plutonium, we are actually making the nuclear pasta on the second floor of this factory, which is a little bit strange. It just made sense, though. When I was originally building this, I had put the particle accelerator up top. The copper ingots come in from the bottom, so it was natural that the copper powder end up down there. And then the rest of what's needed for the nuclear pasta is basically pressure conversion cubes. And these guys are just fused mod frames combined with radio control units. Oops. Radio control nothing. So these guys obviously come in from the drones. So once I realized that, again, it only made sense to put these assemblers here and have the nuclear pasta effectively be sandwiched. So this may actually, the nuclear pasta might be the most power intensive, just simply because of the particle accelerator. It uses up to 1.5 gigawatts just for the particle accelerator, right? But it's also the most basic layout. Literally just a couple of constructors, couple of assemblers, and particle accelerators, so. This turned out to be a really easy tower. Of course, we drone in the radio control units and fused frames from the huge set of factories that we have built. So it's a little more complicated than all that, but yeah. So this over here, I guess is going to be the assembly director systems. Now, I don't know, the thermal propulsion rockets and the assembly director systems, they are both much more complicated. I don't know which one really takes the cake for, like, being the most complicated. I don't know. It's hard to say. So lots and lots of this is quite broken indeed. Looks like for these guys, yeah, it's the heavy modular frames that we're running short of. I believe this problem is an extension of our iron shortage. As I'm sure you guys know, heavy modular frames are mostly iron-based, steel-based, but that's basically just iron and coal. So yeah, our iron shortage is messing this up, but hopefully we'll have that sorted within the next week or so. So I believe in this setup, we actually have the drones sharing the floor with our final end-of-the-line assemblers. This was one of the first buildings that I built here. Obviously, I built the towers one at a time, and I started with this one. So we ended up doing a lot of the belting on the outside of the tower for this one, which is actually pretty darn cool. It came out looking pretty nifty. The vertical belting was actually not too bad to do with the hover pack. The hover pack is just really nice, guys. Really nice. It allows you to build as freely as you want. Very much enjoy using it. So we made the ceiling for the particle accelerators, as you saw in that previous factory. However, it actually came in handy here, and this is why it's nice to leave space. I really did try to plan this factory, but I failed to foresee everything, and this was one of the problems. By the time I pushed the scale for the top floor, I'd realized the amount of wire that we need, and now I'm doing wire just with the basic recipe here. It is worth noting that with a lot of this stuff, I'm using really nice alternate recipes. For instance, the cable. We're producing 900 or 1200 cable per second up to when this build is fully... Like, I mean, that doesn't even include overclocking. So we're using a cable alternate that makes this very few machines. Each one of these machines is actually producing 100 cable. Wire's got some pretty cool alternates, but I didn't want to have to worry about bringing another material here like Caterium, so we just stuck with the vanilla recipe. However, that meant that I needed all these 26 constructors. Thankfully, since we have such high ceilings, I was able to just kind of put in a half floor so we can stack them together, still have plenty of room. It sucks a little bit. Another one of the reasons I wanted to have the super tall ceilings is it makes it super easy to overview your factory. So when you're trying to look for problems and stuff, you can easily see your whole system. But now we've got the floor kind of in the way. Suppose I could do glass floors, but still there would be some places we wouldn't be able to see. Either way, a bit of a flaw, but not totally system breaking for me. I did actually, for whatever reason, I went ahead and made the whole factory walkable by foot. So we have all these lovely catwalks everywhere and railings and whatnot, so you can actually get around. You know, supposing you don't have a hover pack, jetpack, or power is out or something like that, you know? So we'll just zip on over to the final tower. And that's a basic overview on the 4 towers, our newest factory. Awesome thing to build. Probably my most thought out, largest scale single build I've done in Satisfactory. A lot of my previous factories have been very plain in their design, very unfinished in their execution. So I decided this time we had to go a little bit different. And boy, I'm glad we did. It's actually been a lot of fun to build. And I think the final product here has really turned out to be a good one. It's working surprisingly well, despite a few shortages in iron and such. A lot of this doesn't deviate too far from our usual factory layout. You know, the manifold's still the same, basically. We split out the machines in the same way. Just instead of doing it in my usual way where we stack the factory, you know, horizontally in front of itself, I just changed it up and stacked the factory vertically over itself. Which is definitely a much more difficult design. Horizontally, it's less appealing unless you put the time into making it appealing. But it is a heck of a lot easier to build. So yeah, you can already see a little bit of this iron shortage now. Thankfully, it looks like we're doing a lot better than we were. I did make some improvements to our supply line. Go ahead and show you guys that. But I think we're gonna still need some more iron. I think we're still running out of resources in some other areas. So yeah, let's take you guys right on over and we'll look at that that iron stuff. Alright, and here we are at the supply line. We're actually not all that far away from the 4 towers. There's the main base over there. We are about right here on the map. So this is the East Desert spawning zone. The big poisonous swamp with that uranium cave. I picked this spot to be our resource pickup hub because it just had a lot of really great nodes. It just has a lot of really great iron, copper, coal, and that's basically what I bring out to these factories. So a lot of these factories, like, I built the turbo motor setup on top of bauxite for the aluminum, and I did the same thing for fused frames, built it on top of bauxite for the aluminum. So we actually do not train bauxite. It's one of the only basic resources that we don't have up on a train. I do have plans for that, though. I built the motor computer factory for location. It doesn't harvest anything locally. It's all brought in via trains. Built the nuclear in its location. 2 reasons. One reason, because it's in the corner of the map, as far away from our main base as possible to keep radiation at bay. Secondly, the water. Built it on a water supply, so we don't have to train water. We do train water, but only for fun, you know, as a design idea. Just you know, for that reason. And it's the same reason we do this, right? If you're looking at it from an efficiency standpoint, you should absolutely harvest all the resources locally that you can. But if you spread your factories out like this, you know, having like, so we have like a big factory for computers, motors, heavy mod frames. That's what we export out of this main location. We export out of this location turbo motors, supercomputers, radio control units, and such. We export out of here, actually, more motors and computers, because you really need a lot of those, and our main base setup does not scale anymore. It's actually hit its limit. The fused frames, we export there. So each of these factories, they have tons of local resources, you know? Tons and tons and tons. And since they're all in different locations, they can all tap from different sources. Use the drones to export those materials and assemble them in another location. Made it a very viable strat. I don't know if it really helps, but I'm just trying to give you guys a bit of an insight into the factory planning, because I know it's a thing that a lot of people struggle with, and they struggle with how you plan up to this stage, and it's difficult. It's the real struggle thing, but you've got to think about your design ahead of time. And then just try to stick to it. So this is the iron train. It looks like it's getting pretty full, actually. Looks like it's getting really full. So I don't know how far out an iron train actually is. From arriving, but it looks like pretty far. none of them should be up there. So there's one iron train. So one of the things that was changed, yes, there's the second iron train. Yeah, so this guy's just about here. Okay, okay. So yeah, it looks like we're pushing a little too much iron in here, since it's filling up a bit before the trains get here, but... my belting system's also not optimal. You can see one belt is stopped and one belt is not full. We need to finish on filling up that belt. So basically all that iron comes from the local area. You can see these big struts. They're actually wells. There's miners inside those wells. So some of what we gather, like limestone and coal, doesn't undergo any refinement at all. It's just put on the trains as is. So that's how it's most useful. However, things like iron and copper, we actually smelt it before it goes on the train. It's more useful to us in its smelted state with the recipes that I like to use. So we just smelt right at the miner. You can see this, I believe, is a pure node of iron here. So we have just exactly enough smelters to smelt it all. It's 780 coming out of the miner and 780 coming out of the smelters. That's an old design, though. I've recently decided that that is too cumbersome and it's too many smelters for too little iron. And the numbers that we need now are way too high. You can see we've got 3 Mark V belts already of iron, and I'm planning on adding a 4th one. I think that's going to be massive overkill. We were short with 2. I think 3 is about all we need, but I'm just going to go ahead and future-proof us a little bit. Hopefully. So once we used up that iron node, we had to move just a little bit over here to our next iron node. So this time, we employed overclocking and alternate recipes to get the job done. So we are now making 750 iron ingots with just these 6 foundries. Now, they're fully overclocked. They're using iron and copper. But this is my new preferred way of making iron and copper because it goes both ways. In fact, copper's even better. 750 copper just out of these 3. So that's what I'm talking about right there. So we just got a little double bus of, 780 iron, 780 copper. And we just chew it all up here. The recipes went a little uneven on me, so I actually threw down some iron smelters at the end just to use up the last bit of iron. And so that's why we have this partially empty belts, because we've run out of iron here. Now, I've already begun to start up a couple of new nodes all the way back here. And we're going to use these to fill in the supply of that belt. And get that iron, hopefully, to where we need it. Okay, cool. Like one of the iron trains just picked up from the station. Yep, there's the number 2 one. So yeah, we're slowly but surely getting the supply under control. Definitely using the trains makes it a little extra complicated compared to the utilizing of the local resources, but it's been really cool to see our whole train system really come into practice, you know? It's, we've got a ton of trains roaming around now, delivering a ton of resources. And I'm quite happy with it. Oh, Fluffy Tail Hog, leave me alone. Don't ruin my recordings. This is very, very unprofessional. Okay, we just run from him, guys. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't deserve to die. Okay, maybe he does, but... So yeah, I hope some of these videos give you guys some insight into my factory and how I plan it and play it and design it, and then you know, maybe that can give you some ideas, some inspiration on building your own. Building factories and Satisfactory for me is just the best, and I love doing it. This save game has now been growing and being played for a little over a year now. Started in the beginning of Update 3. And yeah, it's just still going to this day. I'm planning on finishing Space Elevator Mission number 4. And then I'm gonna turn our factory that's feeding the space elevator towards the awesome sink and see just how many points we can farm up in there. So I'll be posting again into this series once we get the space elevator mission complete, or close to complete, so hopefully I'll get back on the week schedule there, guys. I really do want to keep consistent for you, so you have a cool episode to watch each and every week. We will soon be starting up a new save game where we'll play with some mods and stuff like that. I've never played Satisfactory with mods before, so I'm planning on attaching to this save game, the new save game, the modded save game. I want to make a YouTube series kind of like this one here, but right from the get-go. So keep an eye out for that. I'm imagining to start that, I don't know, sometime in the next few weeks. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, suggestions, anything like that, you know, I'm always happy to hear from you guys. You guys inspire me to build this factory. So always feel free to share your thoughts and whatnot. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.